Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? My name is the Nanu, and I'm the man with black privilege. And with this video here, we're going to be talking about Godzilla, King of the Monsters, I think it's called. The newest Godzilla movie that dropped, a month ago? 2 months ago? Maybe 2.5 months. I'm extremely late with this one. I didn't go see the movie right when it came out. I waited a couple months, and not because for any particular reason, but with me being a Godzilla fan, I'm not a mega hardcore fan or anything like that, but I've been watching a lot of the older movies for years. Like, I grew up watching the older Toho Japanese ones, and I kind of already knew what the monsters were and stuff like that. So to me, the biggest draw of just going to go see all of that, it's like I've already seen it. So, but had a chance to check it out recently, and I know it's not blowing up like they wanted to, but honestly, I'm gonna say it's not that bad. It had tons of monster fights and stuff like that in it. That was my one biggest gripe out of the last Godzilla movie. What was it? Godzilla 2014, 2015, 2016. The last one that we did over here in America. And that one I just did not like. They didn't show Godzilla at all. Everything was shot in the dark. They killed off Bryan Cranston. And, they had us following, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. I forget what the other guy's name is, but the guy who was in Kick-Ass. And they were, the main draw in the movie, after Bryan Cranston died. And in that movie, and that's going to kind of lead in with my main faults in this one, is this movie, King of the Monsters, kind of felt more like a Japanese Godzilla movie than the first one did. The first one kind of didn't have a plot. It was, I guess the plot was centered around Godzilla. Like, it had a plot, but the main thing was like, oh, Godzilla's coming, but we're not going to show him. What the humans were doing didn't really matter. It was more about, oh, Godzilla's coming to town, this other monster's coming, we know they're going to intercept at some point, and that's when they're going to fight. In this one, in King of the Monsters, they tried to go in like, okay, here's this plot with the humans, and here's all the other monsters, and there's this organization that's studying them and stuff like that. And my biggest problem with all of the human stuff in King of the Monsters is I wish they'd have went into the last movie with setting all of that up. Because with the first movie, they could have went in there and been like, oh, look, here's this organization. We found this monster that's in the earth, and they kind of could have told all of that human stuff. And then by the time we got to this movie, we didn't have to explain everything. Everything was already set up. We're ready to go. Here's these monsters. And they could somehow have the humans work with Godzilla to deal with the problem. With the second one, it kind of feels like by them not doing that with the first movie, they kind of had to do all of that setup with like the first half of the King of the Monsters. And to me, I find it cool because it's like, hey, I'm a Godzilla fan. That's what we're used to if you ever watch all the Toho stuff, right? I think the Japanese people do it a little bit better. We don't, Godzilla movies, or the Japanese Godzilla movies as a concept, we just don't know how to do right. Since I guess we're not Japanese, and they've been doing them since like the 60s. But it's something that we just, every time we do one, we fuck up. Going back to, what was it, the 1998 Godzilla movie, we fucked that up completely. Treated that, just like a Jurassic Park. And with the last one that came out, they fumbled the ball with that one too. So with this one here, it feels like they took a Justice League approach to the movie. It feels like the last Godzilla movie was like, okay, we know we didn't give the fans what we want. So with this sequel, we're just going to give the fans what they want and, just say fuck it, and then maybe we'll make the money that we want. And that's cool and all, but that's not I'm probably the bad person to say that, because if you ever watch any of my other commentary videos, I'm like, hey, look, give the comic book fans what they want. But that's not how you make a movie. You have to appeal to the masses. I think your product, when you make something, if you're making Godzilla or a comic book movie or anything that's already established based on something else, meaning like a comic book, another movie, if you're rebooting from something else, or whatever your source material is, your product has to maintain whatever that is, and then you can make changes elsewhere. Not a big fan of race changing or race swapping in movies and that kind of sort of thing, because that changes the dynamic of the characters. But with Godzilla, you can't really, do that. I mean, as long as he's being Big G, there's not really a whole lot you can do. I wish Data did it better, because like I said, I think King of the Monsters is okay. It's, with me being a Godzilla fan, I'm not looking into the movie like, oh, this is the greatest movie ever. Like, no, I've seen it done better if you go watch some of the older Japanese stuff. Yeah, the quality's not there as far as like the CG and the looks, but they all have personality. When I'm watching this King of the Monsters, it's like, okay, Godzilla doesn't really have any kind of personality. The only one with personality, I would say, is fucking King Ghidorah. And that's with the head that's all the way on the right. It's like they gave the three heads three different personalities. And I like that. That's one thing I will say, how like you had the middle head snapping at the one on the left, like nobody liked them. But it was the human stuff in King of the Monsters that I mainly had a problem with. It felt rushed. It felt unearned. They fumbled through a lot of most of the exposition trying to get to a certain point. It just wasn't planned, and it definitely shows. Like I said, if they'd have went back in the first movie with Bryan Cranston, made him like, let's say, like the main character, him and Ken Watanabe, and let's say Ken Watanabe was already a part of this organization, and let's say the Godzilla stuff was happening, but nobody knew what it was, and then he had to, let's say, go recruit Bryan Cranston, or Bryan Cranston stumbled on to something with related to Godzilla, and that's how he met Ken Watanabe, and they kind of brought him into the fold. And then that introduced their organization. They were tracking other stuff, and let's say at the end of the movie, you get to the end, Godzilla beats the other one, I think, what was it called, Muto or something like that, and then like they talk about like, all right, what about the other places? He's like, what do you mean other places? Like, oh, you thought Godzilla was the only one? And then bam, that's how you end the movie. There's your sequel. And then when they came up with this one, you can just kind of go into it with, without having to explain everything, because in this one, by them not doing that, if you ever watch the human stuff, it just feels like it's just stupid. The plot was dumb. Like, you had this lady who, her and her husband made this machine so they can communicate with the monsters and stuff like that, and it's just, it felt incredibly forced, YouTube. And this is coming from somebody who is a fan of Godzilla and all of that stuff, so it's like, I'm watching a movie I enjoy, but the human stuff definitely felt forced. I can't say nobody really gave a bad performance. When I'm looking back on the movie, I'm thinking about it now, nobody gave like a shitty experience or nothing like that. It's just, the writing just wasn't there. It wasn't as good as it could be, and I don't know what happened. Like, because I think with this movie, when they made the last one, they knew it was going to be, or they were planning it to be like a kind of Godzilla, King Kong, shared universe type thing. So they went into it knowing they were going to have like a trilogy of movies. And it felt like, if you go back and think about the first one, it felt like the first one was a solo movie. And maybe it was meant to be that. Maybe it was meant to be a solo movie, and then by the time they got to this one, they was like, oh, we can, Marvel's blowing up at the box office. Maybe we can make a King Kong versus Godzilla, and then maybe that's why this one feels rushed, because maybe that wasn't their plan at the beginning. But it definitely felt like this movie was a filler movie when it came to the human stuff, but when it came to the monster stuff, it was better than the first one. Far better than the first one. You had shots in the daytime, you had multiple fights, You had Rodan flying around, killing Air Force pilots and stuff like that. This one, the reason why I said in the beginning of the commentary, this one feels more like a Japanese movie, is because if you ever watch any of like the modern day, well, not modern day really, but any of the modern Godzilla movies, or even the ones from the 90s, they always show like either the American military trying to fight Godzilla, or they develop some kind of new weapon that could take out Godzilla or other monsters and stuff like that. Or in some movies, they're working with Godzilla to take down aliens who like have like their own Godzilla monster, you know, that they gotta fight. So they're always working with Godzilla and stuff like that. And that's what I think this movie should have had more of. It just wasn't there. Like, they kind of had a big scene at the end, but it was kind of like the last 20 minutes. To me, a Godzilla movie, you have to have the humans in there a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying cut them out completely. You can't do that, because Godzilla can't talk. You know, he's not on the screen acting. You know, I mean, you can't just have a bunch of montage fights and that's it. But you have to have the humans in there. You have to have somebody who's trying to do something with the government or the military or something. You have to have some kind of threat in the movie, whether that's Godzilla or another monster that he's trying to fight. My personal favorite movies are either the ones where the military is trying to kill Godzilla, or they're working with him to help stop somebody else. Those are like my favorite ones. Like the one where Godzilla fought Mechagodzilla was very cool. Stuff like that. But you have to keep that human stuff to a minimum, because you're selling the movie with Godzilla. That's the whole point. So I think by the time you get to like 20 or 30 minutes in, you already know who all the characters are as far as human wise. You already know what they're trying to do, what their roles are, what the main shtick of the plot is going to be, you know. And then the latter 45 minutes of your movie is just Godzilla fighting another monster, or fighting humans, or, you know, them working together to do something. Like, you have to, you know, that's your point. You have to show him doing like those little mouth breathing energy blasts that he do. You have to show a couple tail whips. I would preferably see him knock down a few buildings. You know, you have to just go through the motions when it comes to Godzilla. Maybe since it could be, you know, newer CG stuff, maybe have him doing, you know, some new badass stuff that we just haven't seen before. You know, use his abilities in different ways. Something that makes, let's say, the American movie stand out than the Japanese ones. But with this movie, they just didn't do that. They focused more of the movie on the plot of this organization and them setting up stuff and the bad guys releasing all the other monsters. It's like, I feel like all this should have happened off camera. And then, you know, we could have got the movie that would have been better. You didn't have to force exposition in during your movie time when we could see cool monsters fighting each other or showing off other stuff. You know, you had a couple plot lines between like the main character and like his wife and his daughter and stuff, about him being estranged from them, and it's like, I don't care about none of that. you know, they throw that in movies to I guess make the audience connect with the people, but you don't have to connect. This is a Godzilla movie. Nobody's going into this to be like, you know what I really liked out of that Godzilla movie? I was a fan of the human character and drama and love story. It's like, no, it's fucking Godzilla. You're expecting to go see monsters fight each other, you know? As far as that, though, I thought that was done pretty good. I think it could have been better. I wish that they would have took the whole... I don't know what it is, but you can't have Godzilla or none of those big creatures move too fast. But I wish that they were more weighty, kind of like how Pacific Rim was. Because that kind of gives scale and weight to the big creatures and stuff. It shows how massive they are. Whereas in Godzilla, when you seen either him walking around or King Ghidorah, you know, swinging stuff around, it was like too fast, so it didn't. I guess I can't say it didn't feel real, but because it's not real. But it's just if they'd have went with a different approach to how they were moving and fighting and stuff like that, I think it could have been done a little bit better. Because Pacific Rim, that one scene that they had in the city, I think, where Gypsy Danger fought, what was the one? Knifehead, I think. But whenever you saw Gypsy Danger move or Knifehead move, it was like really slow and weighty. So it looks like it weighed a lot, you know, because usually I think science behind bigger creatures, like the bigger you are, the slower you would move. So it makes a whole lot of sense when you're, picturing it. By King Ghidorah, like, just instantly attacking Godzilla, moving really fast. It looks fake, but it looks damn good. I mean, they had a couple shots in this where you had a lot of special effects and energy beams and King Ghidorah breathing lightning and stuff. So that was done extremely excellent. I will say that. You even had Rodan flying around, and he had like fire embers on like the back of his wings and stuff. It looked fucking glorious. But it was just one of those things where it's like, I think the movie kind of fell flat with the human side of things, not necessarily the monster side of things. And I think it could also be they're expecting too much. I'm not sure who makes the Godzilla movies or the new ones now. But I think they're expecting that Marvel money out of Godzilla, and it's just not the case. Godzilla is a cult movie. It's not a mainstream movie that most people are gonna go and watch and see. It's something like people like myself or anime fans, or if you're fans of the old Japanese Godzilla movies, yeah, we'll see that. But that's a small minority when you count families and parents and that kind of sort of thing. Godzilla is a cult icon, but he's not like outselling Spider-Man when it comes to merchandise and toys and none of that kind of sort of stuff. So it's one of those things. It's like, I wouldn't make a Godzilla movie expecting like $1 billion that my movie is going to gross. Like, I wouldn't expect that. And it could be just be timing too. Like, it came out when like John Wick came out, Brightburn, I think not Infinity War, Endgame is still in theaters too. So it's just, you had a lot of decent movies come out around that time. Aladdin, I think, also came out. But it's just, nobody's gonna not see those. Nobody's gonna skip out on John Wick to see Godzilla. That's not how it's gonna work. And women and children and people who love the original Aladdin are gonna definitely go watch that over this. And then I think you had Toy Story that just came out too. So it's like, why would you have your movie come out, during all of that? Like, I'd have pushed it back to like August, September, right before, those Disney movies come out, and like, before Star Wars comes out in December, maybe September, October, something like that. But I don't know. I mean, I don't make the movies, but it's just one of those things where it's like, I just wanted to make a commentary talking about it. So I know I haven't put up a video in about a week, and I know I had a lot to say about this movie, given the fact that with me being a Godzilla fan and stuff like that. So anyways, fellas, my name is Denanu, and I'm the man with the biggest and the most blackest privilege on YouTube, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.